And a lot of the guys that I talked to when I got there were still working on the impression that this was a plane crash.
Right.
You know, they really didn't have any idea because nobody could get close enough to see what exactly was happening with this thing.
Sure, and everyone was describing the sound, the rumble, you know, what was this natural gas blast, but seemed to be a plane crash to so many witnesses.
That's what really stood out to me, was the sound this thing was making. It was just unbelievable, just the roaring sound that was coming with this flames.
And that roaring sound was coming, was it the flames or the force of gas? Or both?
I think it was the force of the gas is what was making that sound, and then the burning and the whole deal, you know. And
that initial just fireball that we saw for so long after the explosion.
I left to this incident from my house, which is out by Ocean Beach, and as soon as we got onto the Great Highway in northern San Francisco, we could see the smoke cloud from this incident. Really. It's unbelievable.
Well, Brian, you've brought us some remarkable images very close up of the beginning of what has turned into be even a much wider tragedy. As many, at least 35, maybe 45 or more homes have met the same fate that you're looking at here as the hours have progressed. About 3 hours and 15 minutes ago, this all started. Brian, when could you, obviously you could feel the heat from this. When could you see the fire? How close were you when you could begin to see the fireball?
We actually, is this
the dog you're referring to?
That's the dog that I was referring to before. You actually couldn't see the fire until you were probably about 4 or 5 blocks away, just because of how the layout of the hills are and everything in this area. You know, and the fire, it appears to me that that the actual...
This is from the backside now that you were telling us?
No, that's stuff that I've zoomed in on. That's actually, this is the area, this is more of the area where I saw there's a large building that was burning. Yeah, and that's that same house that is just it's really starting to progress. As I said earlier, when I left the scene, this house was on the ground completely. There was nothing left. It looked like the pictures you see after like a large forest fire emerged through. Just, you know, standing chimneys, and that's basically.
And how long a period of time would you say?
That house burned down in probably half an hour. Okay. And there was really nothing the fire department could do for that house at all.
Well, it just looks like there's a wall of hot fire behind it as well.
And that's the thing is that's on any given day, that's a big fire itself. Sure. Let alone what's burning behind it and
dozens of other houses just like this.
And you could watch the fire going from house to house, because you know, a house that's sitting next to that house burning is going to catch on fire, and then the next one.
Did you literally see that? You saw
absolutely
spread one to another?
Yes, and if you can see the house that's next to it, I believe it's a pink house.
Yes.
That house you can see in these pictures is just starting to catch on fire. That house was well involved in fire when I left.
And certainly burned down now.
Pretty much. The fire department did finally get they were using an aerial ladder truck to do a defensive operation on that house.
Spraying water on it, just hoping to keep it from catching fire.
The firefighters were frustrated. They really, now this is the stuff that I shot in the backyard here, and that's actually looking right down. That's as close as I could get to kind of ground zero right there. And so that's another street that travels off to the south from here. This is the ladder truck that they started using to extinguish that pink house.
Did you hear anything, and I'm fishing here, Brian, just because we're looking for some information, did you hear anything from firefighters when you're on the scene about what may have started this? Did you hear any word about construction or anything?
They really, you know, and
you didn't hear anything?
I wanted to reiterate that these guys did a fantastic job today and are continuing to do that, but they were really bewildered, I guess is the best word I can use, is they were, you know, they really didn't know even how to begin to fight this thing with the gas still burning. They just couldn't get anywhere near to where these houses were going.
It's just remarkable, you know, to look at these images that you captured, and it's really just heartbreaking. And to know, well, right here we see yet another home that you can see the flames inside that house, and undoubtedly that house was lost as well.
Starting to catch on fire, yes.
Now this is firefighters spraying water onto the big flame, onto the leak itself?
No, this is them. This is
Oh,
them
this is
trying
the defensive job. I
yeah,
see.
this is them trying to stop the progression of the fire. So the fire has now moved into this pink house, and they are trying to keep it from moving on to the next house. So this is where they could make one little stand, I guess, is the way to put it. You know, to fight this whole thing is them trying to fight this next house and to keep it from going down. Now this kind of impressed me is that CD or CAL FIRE, I guess as they're called now, they responded with 2 air tankers, an air attack plane, and then this helicopter here, and they actually started to do water drops.
Which they usually do on a wildfire, not in a residential situation.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable, wasn't it?
We saw, they came over, and I actually have some of that coming up here if they can get those pictures of them actually making airdrops right to the south of where we are, and at one point that helicopter dropped on a house that was standing right next to where I was.
Oh, I bet you were drenched, huh?
I was dry. I didn't get drenched, but it's really, really loud is the helicopters when they're going overhead.
We have now just confirmed, sad to say, 1 fatality as a result of this. We don't know the circumstances.
And that person, we understand, lost their life near Claremont Drive. And of course, Brian, that's right where you are as well.
We actually had an anecdotal report that was unconfirmed from someone that they had helped a neighbor to the hospital, and the person that they helped had said that the person they were with had died in the fire. So we, you know, no, there was no way we could confirm that.
Well, this is confirmed now. We don't know if it's that person, but the fire department does confirm 1 fatality now. And there are at least 2 critical injuries that we know of at SF General.
5 at SF General now.
Oh, is it 5 at SF General?
It's grown a bit, and then we also know of at least 2 that have gone to St. Francis, which is the burn center in San Francisco. And we've heard that other hospitals are preparing, you know, Kaiser. We now know there are 14 patients at St. Francis. So certainly these numbers are going to increase as, you know, different hospitals that have been triaging patients decide which ones are the most seriously injured and need to be sent to the trauma centers, the burn centers, and all.
Brian, while you were there, did you see a rapid escalation in the number of firefighters responding as word went out to get more help?
Yes, they're definitely at this corner where I was. When I first got there, there was this truck company from Daly City were on the scene, and they were joined by several other units. They were having, now this is something I don't know if you guys were talking about before, is they had a severe water problem here. Apparently this initial explosion had done something to hurt the water supply for the firefighters, and they did not have, the hydrants that were close to this location were not working at all. So what they had to do is bring water in. They had to lay a line from Plymouth and Vermont all the way down to Vermont at Claremont to this location. And that's actually where you saw on the left side there was a fire engine that had just pulled up. They actually brought a supply line in, which is what started to feed this ladder truck here.
That explains what Heather Ishimaro had described, seeing those lines laid out, and that explains what was going on there.
Right, so to the closer you got to the actual explosion, the less water they had, because there was some kind of damage, obviously, that the firefighters told me that there was some sort of damage to the water main supply.
When we're going to try to just let this tape that you brought us, Brian Carmody, play out as we talk about it, because these are remarkable, tragic shots at ground level of just the ferocity of the flames and the challenge the firefighters have faced. And you can only imagine the terrible, terrible, sudden scare without warning that the people who lived so close to this initial explosion had to contend with.
Just absolutely horrifying. We are hearing that the 16 patients that we initially were told were at St. Francis, the burn center in San Francisco, that's not an accurate count. We're told there are 16 patients at Mills Peninsula Hospital, the facility that's it's in Burlingame, right at the border of Burlingame and Millbury, and they've really activated their emergency response at that hospital. They are not a trauma center, but they are well prepared to deal with patients coming in, and there are 16 patients there now.
And I think at St. Francis, which is the burn center, They were expecting a couple of people at last word, and who knows if more, but a couple. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Tell us what we're watching here.
This is, I believe he's going to make a drop here. This is one of the first drops that helicopter. It's 106. The Cal Fire Hell Attack Unit. They are based in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and they came down to help out. This is when they started to make their drops here. One kind of an interesting to note, when this thing first happened, we heard the first call of this on the radio, and the first engine that was dispatched, they dispatched them for a house fire, and the first engine came right